Today, we're talking Dr. Disrespect's Crazy Week. Xbox is coming to the Amazon Fire TV stick, and the big winners at the Gayming Awards. Plus, if that isn't enough, we're talking about billions of dollars Steam is making from your unplayed games and more. Welcome, friends, to this week's episode of Good Playing With You, the weekly gaming podcast. I'm Dan Whitehill, and as always, I'm joined by our good playing good buddies, Matt Lord.
Hey, how's it going?
And Matt Maulding.
Hey now.
We've got a packed show, but before we dive in, let's check in with my evil clan of Matts and find out what everyone's been playing this week. Lord?
Yep, been a busy week for me. It's a packed one. Got a lot of work on the plate, which is good. But I've been able to get my hands on Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, which is an old school GBA game, and I'm playing on my little Game Boy SP emulator device and just having fun, just throwing it back to the glory days of some video games, and I just love that little device, you guys. I highly recommend picking one of those up. They're really cheap. They're only like $50, and you have just like hundred thousands of different classic games to play.
Is this some illegally emulated little thing that
It is?
Yeah, you and your emulation.
Little Chinese emulation device, and I honestly love it. This thing is really awesome, and it's so cool that it looks like a little SP, and it has all the sleep features that an SP has, so you can bust it out at any time. Really good time. But that's really all I've been doing. Just been doing my emulation thing and just kind of hanging out, watching Maulding's Elden Ring stream, which is a lot of fun. I know we've been teasing that for a second, but I'm having a blast watching you, Maulding. That was fun. That was a good, good 15-minute test stream that we had the other day.
Yeah, that's about all it lasted because the audio was so bad. But that was hopefully the worst it's going to be. I'm going to work on audio. I'm going to work on visual. I'm going to work on hardwiring my computer to the internet rather than focusing on wireless. So there's stuff coming, and I'm very excited to start streaming to the YouTube channel.
I don't know if you can fix the visual, my friend. That's always going to be a little bit rough.
That's a good one. Good one. I have been playing Final Fantasy 14 as normal, as I am wont to do. But they are on the new update, or the new DLC comes out tomorrow, actually, for early access. And so you can't play it right now because they're in maintenance. So I started playing Diablo a bit, going back to that. But it's been a boring week for me too. It's just been a lot of Final Fantasy 14, which is, again, I said it in the last podcast, just a terrible mistake on my part to go back and play this game. But it's so much fun, and I really enjoy it. It's just a time sink. What about you, Dan? What have you been playing?
I'm actually dipping into Immortals of Avium. We both picked that up, I know, a couple months ago, right before they put it on Game Pass, so we got screwed, but whatever. I'm not too bitter about it. It was only $10. And, it's a decent game. It kind of reminds me of Batman Arkham Asylum because, it's very linear, but then you're unlocking powers and you can go back to other areas and break different walls and do different things. The voice acting is incredible. The story's really well done and really well written. The graphics aren't super great, and it's not really doing anything new, so I can see why it failed to, set the light on fire.
Set the light on fire?
Set the world on fire. I'm sorry, someone just rang my doorbell. But, my dogs are going crazy. It's like a thing. But anyway, that's not happening. Anyway, so essentially, Immortals of Avium.
The motion capture is pretty great on that, too. I really thought that they did a good job with it.
Nice.
Definitely.
And that's a Game Pass classic nowadays.
So if anyone has a Game Pass, I highly recommend picking it up there.
Yeah, I need to check that one out one of these days when I can go back into my Series S era, which I love to dip in and out of. I was just telling Maulding it's time to get back into Overwatch on the Xbox, where it really goes down. It's the best.
Nice.
Is it the best? I don't know if it's the best, but it's one of the best co-op games that I've played. Like it's really fun to just play with your buddies, and
so fun.
Once Dan gets good and can join us, that'll be nice.
I can't wait. Long wait, gentlemen, long wait. But speaking of good games, let's hop into the headlines of the week. This week, we have a lot of news stories to jump into. But first and foremost, speaking of good games, the Gayming Awards. Maulding, you watched these. This is I love hearing about the early kind of award season kind of stuff, so but this is kind of late. I guess this was last year's stuff.
This is definitely last year's stuff. So there's this magazine really called this is really late. So there's this magazine called Gayming Magazine, which is GAYMING. So at the last bit of Gay Pride Month, they put in this award ceremony. It was hosted by a drag queen, Deer, who's a pretty popular streaming drag queen, and Milady Confetti. And I will say, Milady Confetti had charisma coming out of her butt. She was just so charismatic.
You would assume confetti would be coming out of her butt. But no,
one would assume that, but no, it was charisma. She had the Riz, I think that's what the kids say?
The Riz.
She was delightful to watch. So they basically just celebrated LGBTQIA plus representation in video games over the year. I think they made a little bit of a mistake. I mean, I don't know. But basically, it was these two hosts that were not in the same room, so it was a little awkward watching them interact with each other because they were, basically streaming from their own apartments or recording from their own areas. It would have been nice to have had them together to play off each other a little bit more. One thing they didn't have was a lot of filler, which I love. They pretty much went from game to game announcing the awards. They had the people come on and accept them with little short speeches. It was very quick. It was only like 45 minutes.
That's awesome.
They started right off, however, with the first award was the gaming in television, or the first award was television and movies. So I'm like, well, that's not gaming at all. So I was really curious of why they started out with that. So it made me a little hesitant for the rest of the show, but the rest of the show was all gaming stuff. So that was good. But it turns out there was only 6 or 7 games that had any good representation. So it was the same 6 or 7 games in every award category, which was sad, made me a little bummed out.
What was the big winner of the night?
Baldur's Gate 3.
They won.
They won 2 games. There was another game called Thirsty Suitors, which had a huge representation in the game, or a huge representation in the awards. Won a couple different awards. But yeah, it was cute. It was fun and cute. A little cringe at times, but that's fine. It's nice to see. It's nice to see representation.
Right. And when it comes to the representation, could it be the makers of the game be part of the community as well? So it's or is it just representation in the game itself?
Someone won so there was an industry diversity award, which went to, I'm not even quite sure what it was, to a company. That won an award. And then there was a gaming icon award, which went to Jerry Crawford, who is one of the Dungeons and Dragons writers, who is a gay guy, evidently a gay guy. So it wasn't just characters in games. It was, people in the industry. And then streamers, there was a whole award for streamers. So it was kind of gays in games and evidently movies and television for that first award. But it was, it was fun and cute. I see what they're trying to do. It was nice.
Yeah.
But yes, this Milady Confetti, I will say again, just was delightful to watch. So
that's an awesome name.
Awesome. Yeah.
Milady Confetti.
Yeah.
Well, right on. That's good to hear. Speaking of other news this week that's not quite as good, we of course have the Dr. Disrespect scandal. This has been going on pretty much all week with tons of updates. In fact, I know, Lord, you were just getting updates on your phone right before we started recording. So why don't you, if you don't mind, just kind of recap and kind of let us know everything that's going on.
Sure. So as we know, 2017 was when kind of Dr. Disrespect had a huge explosion of negativity. Essentially, he got cut from Twitch. He got a whole thing with like a cheating scandal with his wife. He had an affair. He leaves Twitch indefinitely. They cut ties. Well, fast forward till now, basically out of nowhere, it's starting to all these like allegations are starting to turn up that he's talking to a minor. And then before you know it, boom, Midnight Society, who is developing Dr. Disrespect's game, comes out with a statement saying that they're actually cutting ties with them in light of these allegations. And I have the statement that they posted on Twitter here, and I'll go ahead and read it. So it says, on Friday evening, we became aware of an allegation against one of our founders, Guy Beam, aka Dr. Disrespect. We assumed his innocence and began speaking with parties involved. And in order to maintain our principles and standards as a studio and individuals, we needed to act. For this reason, we are terminating our relationship with Guy Beam immediately. While these facts are difficult to hear and even more difficult to accept, it is our duty to act with dignity on behalf of all individuals involved, especially the 55 developers and families we have employed, along with our community of players. Now, that was just a shocker on its own. I am
because this is a game company that he helped found, right?
Exactly, and they're making his game. It's called Dead Drop. That is,
it's dead on arrival now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, everybody in the comments, a lot of defenders of Dr. Disrespect, lots of hardcore fans out there for him. And they called it out themselves. They said, they're like, this is the game that Dr. Disrespect has been putting out there, putting in the spotlight. So who knows what what kind of development hell this game is going to wind up being.
And then after they dropped him, Turtle Beach dropped him his big sponsorship.
And that has been his sponsorship forever. So that's another shocker.
And I think he's being pulled out of couple sports games too that he had. One of the, I don't know if it was a basketball game, baseball game, or a football game. Like he was a person in that game as like a DLC, and he's being pulled from that too.
He does do a lot of stuff with the 49ers, so it could be a football thing. I've seen him.
That's what it was, 49ers. Because there was a lot of because he thought that said for the miners. That was a lot of Twitter jokes about that.
Man, yeah. Twitter's been going off about this, and it's so, I mean, we should tough.
Back up and just kind of explain that, while he'd been gone from this agreement for quite some time, it was employees that were leaving the company. And while, lawyers and Dr. Disrespect had signed NDAs, these people in the company who knew about this hadn't signed NDAs. So as they left the company, they started to say, hey, everyone wondered why the deal fell through and was canceled with Dr. Disrespect. It's because he's been secretly talking to minors on the platform, and one in particular. And that was kind of like that started over the weekend, and it just kind of, steamrolled through the week and kind of caught fire this whole week. It's been completely insane. And then at the end, Dr. Disrespect started to make a comment himself and released his own statement.
Lord, exactly. I do have that. And I can read this bad boy. It's a little longer, but hey, I think it's worth, it's pretty wild. But yeah, he sent a little, he said before this big long statement that I'm about to read, he came out and he was like, I didn't do anything. I got paid by Twitch. And so he was still saying he was innocent, all this stuff. And then so
he sued Twitch, right? He sued Twitch and
he got
won,
paid. Or that's the whole thing.
His contract got paid out. Yeah.
Right. And so that's the whole thing. Twitch did a big investigation here. So that's this is kind of an interesting, there's a lot to really unpack here, but this is what Dr. Disrespect finally came out. Here's his full statement. And this is something that was posted on Kotaku. And I believe this was a Twitch or Twitter thing. So, hello, I'd like to make a quick statement. Let's cut the fucking bullshit. As you know, there's no filter with me. I've always been upfront and real with you guys on anything that I can be upfront about, and I'm always willing to accept responsibility, which is why I'm here now. First and foremost, I do want to apologize to anyone in my community, as well as those close to me, my team, and everyone at Midnight Society Game Studio. A lot of people have been left in the dark about what happened yesterday with Midnight Society and I, and we made the painful decision collectively to have me step down. Our team is full of incredibly talented and good people that have high career ambitions and families, and I'd never want to jeopardize the culture we have carefully crafted. Everyone has been wanting to know why I was banned from Twitch, but for reasons out of my control, I was not allowed to say anything for the last several years. Now that 2 former Twitch employees have publicly disclosed the accusations, I can now tell you my side of the story regarding the ban. Where their Twitch were there Twitch whisper messages with an individual minor back in 2017 ? The answer is yes. There were real intentions behind those messages. The answers or were there real intentions behind those messages? The answer is absolutely not. These were casual mutual conversations that sometimes leaned too much in the direction of being inappropriate, but nothing more. Nothing illegal happened. No pictures were shared. No crimes were committed. I never even met the individual. I went through a lengthy arbitration regarding a civil dispute with Twitch, and that case was resolved by a settlement. Let me be clear. It was not a criminal case against me, and no criminal charges have ever been brought against me. Now, from a moral standpoint, I'll absolutely take responsibility. I should have never entertained those conversations to begin with. That's on me. That's on me as an adult, a husband, and a father. It should have never happened. I get it. I'm not perfect, and I'll fucking own my shit. This was stupid. Now, with this all said, don't get it fucking mistaken. I've seen all the remarks and labels being thrown around loosely. Social media is a destruction zone. I'm no fucking predator or pedophile. Are you kidding me? Anyone that truly knows me fucking knows where I stand on those things and those types of people. Fuck that. That's a different level of disgust that I fucking hate even hearing about. Don't be labeling me as the worst of the worst with your exaggerations. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. But I think I've said what I need to say regarding the band itself. That's it. That's why Twitch made the decision in 2020 to my team, community, interesting friends that supported me. And then it goes on. There's a couple more paragraphs, but I feel like that was the meat of the situation. There's a lot there. And it's still interesting. Like Twitch paid him. He admits to like messaging with somebody who just so happened to be a minor, which is like not the best thing, I will say. And
they had plans to meet up at a con, and then
was that right?
They didn't. Yeah, but then they ended up not meeting, and I think that he said like, hey, I never met her.
So it's a crazy situation. Like
it is wild.
I don't get like it's still like I need somebody to explain to me. Maybe you guys have a better, clearer picture than I do. Like how Twitch would still pay him, even though is it just a contract that he had that they just had to pay when they booted him? Because I guess like it seemed like he could have been in more trouble than if it was like more serious than what it was, I guess.
I think it really depends on the wording of the contract. But to be honest with you, when they reached that arbitration settlement, I bet they were willing to pay the sum of the contract in further agreement that he would not say anything and neither sides would say anything. So, obviously Dr. Disrespect made his mistake, but Twitch also made a mistake with their employees leaking this to the media. So that's on them. But I bet that when they handed over the cash, they were like, okay, the stipulation here is that you don't say anything.
Yeah. What a crazy story. I mean, that's the thing too, is like I loved watching Dr. Disrespect. Like I feel like he is a talented streamer. When you go into like the catalog of streamers, he has always had the biggest production, like always the most graphics, always the most entertaining. I know it's not it's not everyone's cup of tea. He's like supposed to be just like a rundown, like he's the 2-time blockbuster champion for Christ's sakes, but it's really it's definitely tough to hear that like he's doing something like this. I don't I don't know how.
He's always kind of been riding the edge, right? Like, I mean, he took the camera into the bathroom at one of the conferences and got kicked off, and like caused a whole problem there. He had a whole big deal about, cheating on his wife. And so he left streaming for a long time there. He's been surrounded by quite a bit of drama for someone who doesn't care for drama. That's for sure.
It's always the people who say no more drama that cause the most drama.
Gosh, right? Seriously. Well, I did see like a really funny, I think Nade Shot posted this. He said, you know what? You need to come back to the streaming. You need to lose the wig, the glasses, and come back as Dr. Respect. And you don't know what anything happened. And you just need to be clean slate and just like be a completely different character. And
I mean, he needs to go. He needs to go away. There's no question. Like, he doesn't need to come back. It's unacceptable, and it's especially unacceptable because he is one of the a group of streamers and a group of people who are constantly saying that LGBTQ people are pedophiles, and he's in that like ilk of people, and it's always those people that are projecting their own shit. And no, he can go away. He also in that statement he made on Twitter, he made a revision to it that people caught where he took out minors that she was a minor in the statement. People caught that he had made that revision, and then he revised it again and put minor back in. Like,
really?
It was, yeah. It's
okay. So Kotaku has the minor version in there. Yeah.
This was something that they caught because I remember I was watching it happen live on Twitter when he put his statement out.
Man.
No, it's, I mean, it's unacceptable. He is. Also, I find it unacceptable that Twitch kept it secret. Like, this should have been something that it should have been known. Like, people should have been aware of this situation.
I'm with you there too. I think this should have been something that was made more public, and I think there was a lot of people, and it went on for years where nobody knew what the gravity of the situation was. I don't think anybody had any clue that it could have been this, including I think a lot of, I mean, just anybody. Like, I would have no idea. And it went on for a long, long time. And then, like what Dan said, just some Twitch employees leave and they sing like birds right after. And they're like, hey, this is the situation. And nobody had any clue. And then it just like, a lot of people are affected. And then Midnight Society, who's developing his game, is just like, no, we're actually going to cut ties with you now. And it's just like everyone gets hit with that. So
the only person I care about being affected by it is the 17-year-old girl at the time. That's the only person I care about. Other than that, I don't care about anyone else being affected.
Yeah,
she's the only one I care about.
Yeah, and I don't know if we've gotten like a full update, or I don't think we ever will, or I don't know what the status on that is. I don't think there's much info, but yeah, crazy. I don't think there's anything. I mean, there's still, like, this is a developing story. There's still more stuff coming out. Like I said, I was reading, who knows what the validity of what I was reading on Twitter before we jumped on the show, but there's even more stuff coming out. So I'm sure we could revisit this sometime soon.
Preface the whole thing with that we don't know anything.
Yes,
for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's just all great. Us talking.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Yeah, so look forward to more on that.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, well, moving on. Speaking of other bummer news, Sony is apparently cutting development on virtual reality. So sorry to anyone who bought their VR2 goggles. There doesn't sound like there's going to be much coming down the pipeline for you on this one. They still have a couple of games in development, so don't flip out and don't throw them away yet. But this article comes from IGN. It says Sony is reportedly decreasing its investment in virtuality gaming, with the publisher said to only have 2 first-party games in development for its PlayStation VR2 headset. In a new report from Android Central, sources close to the outlet claim that Sony is, quote, making deep cuts to future funding for VR games and making, quote, very few opportunities for in-house VR games in the future. Android Central's report also claimed that its only 2 first-party games for the PlayStation VR 2 are in development. Sony did not immediately respond to IGN's request for comment. So this really shouldn't be any sort of surprise. It was unfortunate that VR 2 wasn't backwards compatible with the original VR. The price tag coming out, especially in this high rate of inflation, just didn't help it. And then it didn't have the software library. I think that it started at 500 and then it went up from there. Bundles. And then, and not having a deep library didn't do it any favors. And then I think, Lord, you were still waiting for them to make a PC dongle, and that never happened.
That was the whole rumored thing for the state of play. That was like, everyone was like, well, this is something they have to do to keep this thing afloat, and they didn't do it. So it's just like, this thing's totally toast.
Yeah.
I don't know what... I don't know. Like, I think they should have, instead of investing, and this was something that I was hearing on the wire, instead of investing in like games such as Horizon Zero Dawn for this thing, they should have gone for more casual approaches. Like, I think they needed more mini golf games, like carnival ride type things.
I don't know, but that's not going to move the needle. You need that big piece of software to like wow people and bring them in.
I think it's still like, I think it's still too casual.
Alex.
You do, absolutely. Yeah. But I think this piece of hardware, I think, needed a more casual approach to at least bring in a more casual and then explode with the bigger things. They were just going big right from the rip. And I thought that was, I agree. I'm like, why are you putting all this effort into making a Horizon for these things? Or like,
they should have figured out backwards compatibility.
Yes.
So that they had that whole library from their original one.
Right. Oh, those didn't even work for the 2. Oh my gosh. That's so that's crazy. I didn't even know that. That's what are they doing there? That's nuts.
I don't know.
Yikes. Super
all
wild.
That software gone.
That is so bad. Oof.
And speaking of software just being gone in a poof, Maulding, you had a story about Forza Horizon 4?
Yeah, so Forza Horizon 4 is going to be pulled from digital stores and Game Pass in December.
Bummer, that was a good one.
So that's not just like pulled. So just to be aware, that's not just like it's not going to be on Game Pass, so you can't play it on. That is, it's gone. You won't be able to buy it. You might be able to buy it physically, and you'll still be able to buy it used. But here's the official statement, or not official statement. Playground says the delisting is due to licensing agreements expiring. Forza Horizon 4 has digital versions of a ton of real-life cars, as well as many licensed songs. It's a pity that it's being removed from sale, especially given Xbox's stated commitment to game preservation and that Forza Horizon 4 was well received. But unless developers are able to snag licenses for deeply integrated aspects of their games in perpetuity, delisting is a sad inevitability. All the more reason to dive into the excellent sequel, Forza Horizon 5, if you haven't already. This is from Engadget. This is where I got this from. The studio, which is already working on Fable, so let's hope there's no license music in Fable, says that Forza Horizon 4's festival playlists are winding down. The last one will commence on July 25th. So this is just another one of those things where it's like you don't actually own your games. They can pull it. So the only thing I'm not clear about is you should still be able to play it. I don't think they're saying that you can't play the games anymore.
Okay, good.
You just won't be able to buy it anymore. It's no longer for sale. So it's not as bad as it could be. They could just say straight up, you can't play the game anymore. But it's just another thing in our gaming future where these things you don't own and they can pull them whenever they want, which is a bummer.
That is a bummer.
Do either of you play Forza? So admittedly, I played it and I did not find it that exciting, and also like, if you play Forza and then there's just another one coming after it, it wouldn't even bum me out if I was a huge fan of it, because I would just play the newer version anyway and do that.
Yeah.
It's still a bummer.
I played the most recent one. I had a lot of fun with that, Dan. I think we played kind of together. I could see your little ghost driving around the track.
I was in there.
But I just, man, these stories just make me so nervous for the all digital future. I don't think any of these licensing conflicts are going away. I can only see them getting worse and worse. And right now, it's just your, little old Forza 4 that maybe not a ton of people play, but sure enough, there's going to be a licensing issue with maybe one of these more recent COD games and they have to take it down, or something that is just like in the mainstream that these things get wiped out. I see that as a complete possibility. And with the
It makes
big
you
push,
wonder about Horizon, 5. Like,
you're
would
right.
this happen to them? Like, that's crazy.
It
It's
just
huge right
really
now.
is it's a really sad time. I mean, I'm over here always saying buy digital if you can, because that is
By
going to be the only
physical.
one. Yeah,
You mean by
buy
physical?
physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did I say? Did I say buy
By
digital?
digital.
You
Yeah.
totally did.
Oh God. I've been brainwashed into buying digital. Do not do it. They wired in. They're like, get Matt, zap Matt,
Yeah.
and say buy
You've
digital.
been
No, you
zapped.
got to buy physical whenever you can, always. Especially, I learned this one from Dan. Always buy the physical for Nintendo products. Definitely get those cartridges, get those discs.
Yeah, you can
And
return them and
don't.
sell them in and trade them in and stuff. Whereas you never know digitally what the hell Nintendo is going to do on their next
The thing
console.
that's really crazy is that it also doesn't stop them from, let's say, Call of Duty. You buy a $15 skin, or you buy a skin in any of these games, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, we don't have the license for that skin anymore, so we've got to remove it for the game. And then there's no recourse. You just lose. You lose it. It's done. It's
Yep.
$15 you just threw. Well, if you're buying a $15 skin, you're throwing money out the door anyway. But yes, to have no recourse for it is crazy.
It's so crazy. I mean, I feel like there always should be some sort of like reimbursement to the player for
Absolutely.
it, like even if it's coming off the store shelves, like, and you can't pay it, like get something, get a skin, get a, here's like something for our store being one item fewer. I don't know. Something needs to happen.
Agreed.
Well, speaking of wasted money on digital games, Lord, you had a story about Steam.
Yeah. So this one just like I felt like hit too close to home for me. Yeah, so unplayed Steam games amount to $19 billion. Now,
Ooh.
this is
And
a
what is
little
the
bit of
time frame on this? Is this for since the dawn of time, or is this just
this
last
is
year?
I think from last year.
Oh my
So,
God! Really?
Wait,
yeah.
19
Yeah.
billion in games
Y-
were purchased last year and never
Yeah.
played.
Let's see. In based so out of the registered Steam accounts in the world, only 10% or 73 million in Steam ID Finders database are public based on those data from the account. That's why I said loose math. We
Right.
calculate that collectively there's around it must be all time, I
Collective.
guess, because
Yeah, that
not
makes
a
more
year.
sense.
Yeah.
Still crazy.
It's still crazy. I mean, that's a lot of money. Based on data from these accounts, we calculated that collectively there's around 1.9 billion uh, worth of games that have been purchased and never played even a single time. Times that by 10 to roughly account for all the Steam profiles that are not public, and you arrive at 19 billion, more than the gross national product of Nigeria, Niger, Chad, and Mauritius, whatever that might be. But this is coming from PC Games,
Well,
Ed Smith, and I gotta say, I mean, 19.
do you guys do this though? Do you guys have
Oh,
games that you bought digitally you haven't touched?
dude, I have so many digital Steam games I've never touched, but it's so easy to do. You see these, you'll go to like a Fanatical and they'll have a game that's like $3 marked down from 60. So you'll be like, it's a no-brainer. I'm gonna buy that.
So
And
then I'm curious, then does it register that being a $60 game, or register it being a $3 game?
see, now that does not get explained, but I am
Yeah.
sure it's registered as whatever it is in Steam at the time.
That makes, I
So
mean, that does make sense that you bought it for a, a
right.
$57 sale and they
Mhm.
still say that it's a $60. That would make sense.
I think it just goes to show that people have a serious spending problem on Steam. I just like, I see a game that's on sale, and if it's near $10, like the likelihood of me picking it up is like is really high. So
well, Steam has better sales than
They
consoles do, and so I can understand that. I just, for me, I typically, I don't want to lie or shoot myself in the foot, but I'm pretty good about, like, I don't pick up a game unless I need it, or I have like my to-do list, and that's, I don't have much of a backlog. So maybe the real solution is that people just need to play more video games.
That is 100% what it is, and
more
people,
so they should listen to more video game podcasts.
Yeah,
that's what they should do.
Podcast with 3 friends
talking about games.
Exactly.
I feel like I need to definitely stop. I think there's always the call for the comfort game, the Overwatches, the Death Strandings, the games that I just repeatedly play. I have to get out of that rhythm and get out of my comfort zone and play something new. And that's where I think a lot of these libraries like build up. For me, it's just, and I'm relatively new to Steam and playing on PC. So I think it's just, the lure of buying something just to have it. Who knows? Maybe I'll ever play it. Who knows? Maybe I won't. But I mean, that number's scary.
I've definitely purchased some games on sale on Xbox and have never played them. Tales of Numeria, I think, is one that I bought, and I think I bought for like $7. And now every time I go, I'm like, I should play this. And then I look at it, I'm like, oh, I'm not in the mood to play this. So I'll play it later. And
Dan,
it's probably been like a few years since I've owned that and haven't played it.
Like, what stops you from buying a game, though, Dan? Or like both
Dan,
of you?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm curious.
Probably the price. There are definitely things I want, but I'm really good about like putting a wish list together. And I love the emails when they're like, hey, your item from your wish list is on sale. But I'm like a main, like I will, when I play one game, I usually pretty much finish it and I don't buy anything until I'm ready for the next game. Like Immortals of Avium, I bought it a little while ago, but like it was on my to-do list and now I'm going to power through the whole thing. And then when I'm done, I'll be looking for my next main game. I don't know. I'm just,
one thing about Dan is Dan, when he finishes game, he won't play it again.
Ever.
Right? Isn't that
I never touch it again.
Thing? Yeah.
Yes.
Whereas
old games are old.
I
I'm
will
done.
go back and read
Never.
and I'll play it again and see it from a different angle or play it a different way, or that makes my backlog a little heavier.
No way. Once I get those, I mean, if a game doesn't have achievements, I'm out. Like, why do I play a game if I don't have achievements? That's how messed up my brain is.
I'm kind of shook from both of your guys' perspective. Like, Dan never playing a game ever again and Maulding replaying multiple times, because I feel like I'm in the middle where I just like never get to finish a game. And if I do, it's like I am like feeling top of the world because I'm just like bouncing from so many different games. And I just love playing a handful of games though too. Like I will play something. Even if it's for a little while, like I want to give everything a shot and like experience everything, even if it's a little bit. Like I gotta try it. But
that's also one of the great things about Game Pass, is that it kind of satiates that need sometimes for me for a new game, and it opens up games I never thought I would play or I definitely wouldn't buy. I definitely give it a shot, and that's actually the next story I want to segue to. Xbox announced today that they were working with Amazon Fire TV to get on the Fire Stick starting next month. So Fire Sticks that were started being purchased last year and then this year, of course, going forward, looks like they would be eligible to have a free download app. Then you have to, of course, have the Xbox Ultimate Game Pass Ultimate subscription, and then you will be able to stream to these devices. So it's been a while. I mean, I know that was something that Xbox has been trying to do. They had Project Keystone where they were actually going to develop their own connected TV device. And then they partnered with Samsung, and I actually bought a Samsung TV because of this, where Samsung has a game hub where you can get Game Pass and stream on there, and Keystone never happened. So now they're partnering with Amazon, which is a great idea to get on these sorts of things. And maybe, who knows, Google is next and that sort of stuff. They've been talking about this for a while. It's kind of been a slow rollout, but part of that you've got to wonder is because the adoption from players has got to be, I don't think that anyone really loves playing on the cloud. So coming from this news today, getting on the Amazon Fire Stick, what do you guys think? How does that hit you?
Well, it's big for the Airbnb industry, right? So it'd be nice to have an Airbnb with a Fire Stick, and you just go in and you're like, "Hey, these are all my games." If I just want to not explore the city I'm living in and or staying in, and play games on a hotel TV. Yeah, I've streamed a couple times on Xbox. And it's fine. It just doesn't look as good. There's a little bit of latency. It's not as crisp, but it is fun to play a game. Just pick it right up and immediately start playing it. That's great. I don't know. It's just not a big thing for me.
I mean, I'm stoked. I never liked the idea of the Fire Stick native little game player. I'm trying to figure what was that called? Like not Alexa, Luna.
Well, Luna's still a thing though. They're like
Luna's,
still pushing Luna hard.
They're still pushing Luna, but like I'd be way more pumped for cloud, the Game Pass cloud for the. I mean, I have the Fire Stick 4K, so I'll definitely give this a go and see what it feels like. What Xbox I feel like has missed the mark on this, and this is what piggybacking off what Maulding is saying, because latency is the biggest issue here. So the games that play the best are RPGs, especially turn-based RPGs that don't need a lot of quick thinking. You just need to hit a certain button and it'll go. And that is the game that you play on these things. And so when it comes to RPGs, it's a go. I'm going to play maybe Sea of Stars. Like I get Sea of Stars fired up and maybe polish that one off. And so, I mean, it's awesome.
Not Elden Ring.
Not Elden Ring. No, like you're
Ori
you're
the Blind
insane
Forest.
if you do that.
No,
so yes,
not Overwatch. For sure.
Not Overwatch. You need like, I mean, I feel like if they marketed for an RPG, I feel like there would be a bigger push and like a demand for this. But yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Well, moving on, and to end things on an even worse note, I know I couldn't resist. I saw this crazy story, so maybe we could have a random segment called "What the Fuck" going forward. But this one sounds great. A gaming what the fuck for sure. It is an article I saw today that I wanted to read to you guys from GameSpot, and it was called "Man Allegedly Traveled Hundreds of Miles and Attempted to Murder Online Gaming Rival with Hammer." Oh. So this is like, So it's a happy story. So this is from Claire Lewis, and it says, 20-year-old New Jersey resident Eric King is facing an attempted murder charge after allegedly flying hundreds of miles to attack a fellow Arch-age player with a hammer in the wake of the online dispute the two had while playing the game. According to police, King told his family he was visiting a friend, then boarded a flight to Florida to confront the victim.
Of course it's in Florida.
Yeah, right. But this is from New Jersey. Like, it says, wearing black clothes, gloves, and a mask, Kang allegedly entered the victim's home via an unlocked door. Kang waited for the victim, who was gaming at the time, to get up to use the restroom, then attacked him with a hammer. That is so crazy, I can't even. The victim, who police say is close in age to his assailant, managed to pin Kang to the ground during the altercation. The victim's stepfather was sleeping at the time, but woke up when he heard the stepson calling for help. Together, the two men reportedly subdued Kang until authorities arrived. Quote, upon arrival, the responding officers discovered a significant amount of blood in the entryway of the home and the victim's bedroom, end quote. Nassau County Sheriff Bill Leeper said during a recent press conference. The victim sustained severe head wounds during the attack, but has been released from the hospital. When asked about the motive, Kang reportedly told the sheriff's deputies that the victim had, quote, he was a bad person online, end quote. Leeper said that during the press conference that Kang's charges may be upgraded pending further investigation. He said, quote, I would say, Mr. King, it'll be a long time before you play video games, end quote, Leeper said during the press conference. Interestingly, Arch-Age, the Korean MMORPG where Kang met his victim, is shutting down in the U.S. servers on Thursday, today, actually. This has nothing to do with the assault. And then the announcement was made back in April with the declining active player count cited as the reason for the shutdown.
Maybe they were the only two gamers left in the game, and that's why they were rivals.
Exactly. It's like Highlander. There could only be one. You know, he wanted to like murder the last one. I don't know.
This is frightening. This is really not a good story.
No,
Yeah.
I know we joke around or laughing about it. It's awful because I mean, I think of how many people I've told to fuck off online. I should have been murdered 10 times
Well,
over.
you
It's
just
like,
don't tell. You just can't tell anyone your real name, right?
yeah,
I guess that's what it is. I don't know.
for
I don't
sure.
know. Some of these are
I
hacker
removed
people.
my last name from Xbox for that very reason
Yeah.
because I've gotten a little salty and people have gotten salty with me, and I'm like, and I'm like, whoever, like, I turn off the Xbox and I forget about it. But apparently, there are people out there that just keep thinking about it and are like, well, I gotta murder him now.
They're spiraling. It's reminiscent of the Counter-Strike story where the Russian man goes to stab his opponent, or it was either Counter-Strike or Call of Duty. There's been stories like this before. Have you? It's crazy. Like,
No,
these
I don't
people.
want any of this.
Oh
Unsubscribe.
my!
Stop.
I mean, it's happened. It's happened, and I mean, I can only imagine you're just sitting there gaming, and Liu Kang comes out of nowhere and
Yeah,
and just bludgeons you with a hammer.
that is
That's pretty
horrifying.
insane.
Like, you're
I
gonna go
mean,
take a pee. You know, you're innocently
I
about to pee,
just
and then you're attacked by it with a hammer.
I can't. I don't know. Like, these people are
Please
nuts,
tell me
man.
he said it's hammer time before he smacked him. I want that to at least have been something.
Let's go with that. I think that
Yeah.
yes, that is what happened.
I think so. Why not?
Wow.
All right, moving on from those fun headlines this week.
Wow,
It's been
yeah.
such a cheery week.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the discussion topic and email of the week. Who had this one?
Yeah, I did. This was me.
Yes.
This was me. So
I love this one.
Yeah, me too. I was just thinking about games. I'm like, what simple mechanics do you love to see in video games? It could be in anything. It could be a little thing here and there. I can kick it off. Like, something that I truly love in games is when you can go around and have that Resident Evil style mechanic where you can like click on anything really in the environment, and the dialogue box will come up and give you a description, even if it's just like a little text box of something. It's like, that's a painting of a woman. I just, for some reason, that to me just like adds a level of interactivity that I feel like even modern games don't give you. Like, I like the idea of like clicking around and just seeing stuff. It just gives you a little more feel of the world. A game that just did that really well was Crow County. That was that game that was kind of like the homage to those throwback 90s games. And I was just like, you know what, this mechanic I feel like needs to come back. I thought it was really fun. It was really like, it really immersed, even if, it immersed you into the world, even if you don't even realize it. It's such a small touch. I just really appreciate that one.
Yeah, Maulding, what was yours?
Mine, quick save. Like, easy access
awesome.
to quick save is my absolute favorite. And it reminded me that back in the days of Kinect, like, Skyrim is so old that Skyrim was around when Kinect was around. And
Wow.
Kinect had an ability with Skyrim where you could just say, Kinect, quick save, while you're playing, and it would quick save your game. And I loved it. And I'm probably the only person that loved the Kinect, mostly because of its accessibility with Skyrim. But anything that allows you to do that quickly, one button, 2 buttons max, then allows you to quick load to save scum. That is an essential part of
scummy. I love
a
a
really
good
good game. Yeah,
I love
I'm
save
super
scumming.
scummy.
Wait, Maulding, you blew
Yes.
my mind with that Kinect.
Yeah, I loved
tidbit.
it.
I bet you 90%, 99% of the people did not know that existed. That's actually that's awesome. That's like
You could do
pre-Alexa
that,
stuff.
and the other thing that you could do is you can't organize in Skyrim. You can't organize your items by alphabetically or by value, and you could say connect organize by value, and it would organize your items. And you can't.
No
that
way.
functionality is not in the game without connect. And I used to do that all the time. It was really helpful.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Nice.
Yeah,
What the
I
heck?
did too.
Okay.
Lost and
Cool.
gone forever, baby.
Yeah. Bring it back.
All right. So my simple mechanic that I love so much, I've got two, and I know that Maulding, you have another one too. But
it's fine. We don't need to talk.
Oh well, yours kind of ties into mine, so I'll tie them together. But so of course, the first one that I had to say is I'm a sucker for farming and growing shit and Maulding. I saw you put in the document base building, and it all kind of goes to the same thing.
Yeah, that's true.
I absolutely love that sort of thing. Any game that allows you to like farm your own ingredients and and put things together or build a structure like. The one time that Maulding invited me to Ark that I actually went, I spent the whole time not taming dinos like I was supposed to, much to Matt's chagrin. I spent the whole time building this really cool structure.
T-Rex, Dan, and all you're doing is like farming.
I know, and I built this really cool base that I could live in, and then I never came back to play that game again ever.
That's fine.
Dang.
and then the second thing that I love, the small mechanic in a game that I absolutely adore, I get like irrationally excited when I hear about this sort of thing. I mean, it cuts both ways. There are goods and bad. Is a lock picking mechanic. I love a good lock picking mechanic. It's got to be, like I loved the one in BioShock where it was like Pipe Dream where you had to put the pipe. But I did it so many times, but by the end I was like, oh my god, if I have to do Pipe Dream one more time, I'm gonna fucking kill someone. So
hammer.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, oh man, that one I got tired of, but I always liked the like the spinning and the feeling and the catching the pins and stuff like that. There are so many, lock picking mechanics in video games, and as long as they have a good one, oh boy, I'm in. I absolutely get pumped when they have a good one.
I gotta say,
Oblivion had
Fallout,
a good one too.
And Fallout 3. Fallout 3 with that little dial spinning around and like the pin that goes. Oh, beautiful.
And what was
so
it?
Fun.
Yeah, and was it Starfield had an interesting one, right? Where you had to put the pieces.
Interesting for like the first 40 times you did it, but then again, it's that like if it's an intricate thing, it's fun to do at the beginning, but at the end of the game, you're just like, oh my god, if I have to do this one more time. Yeah,
that's where Fallout had it correct, where you could level up kind of out of it, and it would be easy, and I would be able to solve it in 2 seconds.
Absolutely.
So yes, okay. So I'll admit it and say a really good lock picking mini game that you can eventually just bypass.
Agreed.
Well said.
On that note, we need to start wrapping things up here. Make sure you're subscribed to our socials, and on YouTube, please hit that like button too. On behalf of the Good Playing crew, Matt Lord, Matt Maulding, and myself, Dan Whitehill, have a great weekend. And as always, good playing with you.
Good playing with you.